Coming up on this week's episode of Destination Linux, the #1 video-centric Linux podcast on the planet, we're going to talk about the future of interacting with your computer with some dream hardware discussions. We have a very special guest this week with Jill. She has returned to be a guest host, and she's also going to show off one of her amazing computers from her tech vault. And we're also going to be discussing some unfortunate news from the Mozilla team, as well as we're going to CSGO for it in the gaming section. Yep, you're welcome. Puns there.
Well done.
Yay.
Yep. Then we've got our popular tips and tricks and software picks. And if you've not heard yet, we're having a DLN Game Fest on Sunday, August 30th. So go to DestinationLinux.Network/GameFest for more info. And we've got all this and so much more coming up right now on Destination Linux.
Pew, cute intro, but this time it's Jill, so people
Tex is marching down the road.
Exactly.
Penguins.
It's the map of the road. This episode of Destination Linux is sponsored by DigitalOcean and Bitwarden. Welcome to episode 187. Destination Linux is your source for great discussions on Linux and open source. My name is Michael, and with me today are the Umbrella Academy's dysfunctional family of misfit heroes, Jill and Ryan.
We did it.
That is an amazing one. I applaud that one, sir. Noah wasn't able to make it this week, so we would like to give a very special welcome to Jill Bryant Ryniker. Jill is a co-host of LinuxGameCast, LWDW, Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday. That's just a fantastic name. And co-organizer of Linux Chicks LA. Jill is also a teacher, animator, gamer, and lover of all things Linux. So thank you so much, Jill, for stepping in and co-hosting this week. And welcome back to Destination Linux.
Thank you for having me again. This is so much fun. It's just so nice to be with you guys.
Yeah, it's awesome having you. And so let's find out what everyone's been up to this week. And so we're going to start off with Jill. So what have you been up to?
Oh, boy. So I am so excited. I just got a new addition to my computer collection yesterday. And
Nice.
Did you need another computer, Jill? I mean, come on.
No, but I'm just looking. I was actually jumping up and down. I was very excited. This is the Zotac ZBox Nano 8012 1000.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's really a beautiful little machine. It has a 1.7 gigahertz dual core AMD A2 1800 APU and Radeon HD graphics 7430. And
Very nice.
it came out in 2013, and I was wanting it then. And it honestly, in 2013, it was only just about $304. So, that was a middle of the road price for these little mini computers. And for a NetTop and HTPC solution, home theater PC.
And what are they going for now? Is it around the same price, or are they going much cheaper?
No, like $30 to $40 on eBay. So
What?
go grab one.
What?
That's why I grabbed it. It was on my wish list, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's cheap. Let me get one."
You know what's so funny, Jill, is when you I saw it in the notes what you had got, and so I went and was looking it up, and I was like, you can get one of these for $50-$60. This is amazing.
Yes.
Like this with the specs for a
Yes.
home theater PC to put under a TV or whatever. You could use it as a server, as a pie hole. You could do all
Oh.
kinds of cool things with that.
I mean, that price. I mean, that's cheaper than a hard drive.
Absolutely is.
Yeah.
A little computer.
I mean, it's very interesting. That's cheap enough where I'd buy it.
Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to, of course, putting Linux on this bad boy, and seeing what frames per second in some older games I can squeak out of it, because that's always something fun to do. And with today's open source Mesa drivers, it breathes new life into these old machines.
Nice.
So,
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
gonna be
And so
awesome.
you haven't got a chance to put Linux on it?
No,
Do you fear or have heard that it works well, or do you not know and you're just going to experiment?
not know, and just experiment.
That works too.
Because
Yep.
there's no videos. I found maybe one with someone who had put Linux on it.
Very cool. Well, I can't
And-
wait to get updates on how that works out for you, because
Yeah.
at that price, you could pick up a couple of them and have them in rooms, or even
Oh.
with a lot of parents having their kids at home and they need to log into these web classes and things like that. That's a very inexpensive solution to get going.
Zoom Jitsi machine, WebRTC machine.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to be
Yes.
testing
Yeah.
that on here in Discord and all the things. I'm going to have so much fun. One of the reasons why it is a little cheaper though is that you do have to supply your own RAM, SODIMM, and hard drive, but they're a dime a dozen now. So
Right.
I just picked up an 8 gig SODIMM, and I'm going to put a 256 SSD in it.
And that's probably like DDR3, so super
Exactly.
inexpensive. And yeah, it's not going to add much to the cost at all.
Yeah, and I already have the hard drives laying around, so might as well put them to use.
I'm surprised you didn't have 1,000 SODIMMs sitting around as well on top of it. But yeah,
I did have I do have I actually had a DDR4 SODIMM and a lot of DDR2s, but not 3. So I had
not
to
three,
go
of course.
I had to go grab a 3 because those are all being used in machines.
That's how it works in my house, but usually with cables. I have 900 cables in baskets, and it'll be the one cable I don't have or that I decided to throw away last week. Is
Yep.
now the one cable I need.
Yeah, so, Ryan, what have you been up to this week?
Okay, so I'm moving, so most of my life has been revolving around that, but that doesn't stop me from playing and exploring with something new, and that something new was Ghost. Have you heard of Ghost?
I had heard of it,
Yes.
but never used it.
Yes.
Okay.
I've heard of
Well-
Ghost. I've done web development for many years. And I think Ghost is one of those really nice. It's a static site gen, right?
Well, it's a blog site gen, just like WordPress. Its competition really is WordPress. It's fairly new in comparison to how long WordPress has been around. So some of the things that you may take for granted in WordPress aren't there, but it's all based on a Node.js backend versus PHP, which, depending on which one you learn and which one you love, people will battle and say one's better than the other, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, Node.js is known for being extremely fast. And so I built my exact same website, DOSKeyCommunity.com, in Ghost, which is WordPress, on DOSKeyCommunity.net. And you can go and see for yourself the speed difference between the two. It is insane. And in doing tests and things, and I'll be doing a video on it, you can see the speed difference of load times and everything else between the two. It's also very intuitive and well laid out. It has a lot of plugins and integrations that from third parties that you can add in, but you don't really have to. Like in WordPress, I feel like I'm always adding in all of these additional extensions and things like that for SOE or other stuff, whereas SOE is built in to Ghost and different advantages. So I'm not saying Ghost is better than WordPress or WordPress is better than Ghost, but it's also fully open source, and it's just a different alternative. And it was a lot of fun spinning up a server. By the way, one-click droplet in DigitalOcean for that. So just go to the marketplace, go get your $5 droplet, click deploy, and you're good to go. You've got your Ghost initial setup ready to rock and roll. And so I'm really excited about it. It was a lot of fun and easy to set up. And I think I'm going to be moving most of my site over to Ghost because I just want to play with something different.
Sure.
Cool.
I mean, Ghost is a pretty cool system. I do like the way they do it, but there are certain things that I like about Ghost and certain things I don't like it because there are the main thing about WordPress is that it's technologically not the best, but it has so many plugins that it just kind of dominates the space then. And so I think that like WordPress is good for the people who want to have an option of easy to go and also very non-restrictive because there's so many plugins. But with Ghost, you kind of have a really nice approach to having like a really well-built all-in-one package. So if the things that you need are SEO-based or membership system-based or things like that, Ghost has those things built in, so it's a lot easier to deal with those things. But whereas WordPress has a lot more plugins, so that the farther you want to go with your site, you'll hit a roadblock faster with Ghost. But at the same time, there's every single system has a pros and cons to deal with. There's no perfect system by far. There's like Joomla, Drupal, Ghost, Hugo, Jekyll. There's a ton of things that exist. But depending on what you want it to be, I think Ghost is a nice, happy medium for ease of use, all-in-one package, but not have a ton of overhead to deal with. So there are quite a few things. Speed and
efficiency are really important to your site. It's really, I think, something you should take a look at and just check out. And again, with DigitalOcean making it so easy with one-click drop, like why not? So, Michael, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I've been doing a lot of rearranging of things. Like you could see on my the single photo, I'm presenting the bubbly for everybody to check out because apparently
Have they
that's
sponsored us yet? Have they got
no.
that
I'm working on that's what they're here for. I'm working on that, trying to
Okay.
convince them and stuff like that. I don't like
I just want to
bubbly.
let
I
you know,
think this
bubbly
is terrible.
representative, that could be Coke or that could be something else if you don't act fast. I'm just
Yeah,
letting you know.
it could be
Fair
something.
warning.
Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
something else. I mean, I don't
Mountain
really.
Dew could be there.
This is also going to be like a gift, a housewarming gift for your new house, so you can have that because I tried it and don't like it, so you can have them. So
Wait, that's not a gift then. You didn't have to tell me that part. If you would have handed it to me without telling me that part, I'd have been like, oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, but then you'd ask me why
you don't want.
But you'd ask me why is the box
surprise.
open? I'd be like, well, because it was testing. I had to make sure that this was good for you.
Sample it.
Yeah, I had to make sure sample it, exactly. I'm actually really excited about the equipment I've gotten recently, and I am so excited about testing everything. And I recently got a battery backup because Ryan yelled at me about why I don't have battery backups, and I was like, yeah, fair enough. So I got one, and I spent so much time trying to figure out what's the best battery backup I could get. And so I asked Ryan to just tell me what to get, and I did, and it was great. So I'm excited about having
Awesome.
an actual like basically what I have right now is a studio. Previously was a studio that was just like cobbled together of different things that I could make work, and now I'm having a studio, like a legit studio where the equipment actually is there to help me do it. So I'm really excited about that.
What is the battery backup you got? It's an APC, and I think you got
They're
the
the best.
1500 VA. Exactly, Jill. See,
Yes.
I'm so glad you said that because if you're like, oh, that's crap,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh man.
That's what those lights are right there, because I do
Yep.
have quite a few power outages here in SoCal. So
They're
they-
expensive.
and
but
it's
they're worth
happened
it.
during my show, so that saved me.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
And yeah, they can be expensive.
I chose the APC because I was told to, and also you was like, which one did you get? Like, I don't know. You told me to get it. I was like-
Yeah, I think it's the 1500 VA, and
It's something like that.
More than enough. It's a beautiful battery backup, and they're quite, they're efficient and easily switching over from drops, even if it's a minor drop, where the lights blink. They're also powerful enough to keep your equipment on. And because they're meant to be in server rooms and things like that, which is why you're paying that kind of extra price, they're a lot less likely to have issues like, setting themselves on fire on carpet and all of that type of thing. You don't want to put them
Yes.
directly on carpet, but they're just more efficient and better protected than the cheaper alternatives out there.
Yeah, I sent him a link. It was I don't remember, but it was like one of those $60-$70 backups, and he was like, no, don't do that.
Oh yeah, I know.
Not
It's
happening.
like, all right, cool. I'm glad
Not
I
on my
asked
watch.
you first.
Right.
Yeah, you want to spend at least 150 to 200 to get a halfway decent one.
Yep. I learned that almost the hard way, but luckily it wasn't the hard way.
Well, before we go on, I just want to wish a very, very happy birthday to Debian, which turned 27 today.
Can you
So
believe
happy
that?
birthday, Debian.
Yeah.
And thank you so much to all of the amazing people who contribute and work on that project every single day and have made it what it is for 27 years, which even
We
if you're
love
not
you.
using Debian directly, I bet you're using something derived from it. So it's just an amazing project. And thank you and happy birthday to Debian.
Absolutely.
Aw, my favorite distro turned 27.
There you go.
Nice.
It's all grown up now.
I know, and I've been using it, that long. I just like it makes me feel old.
I think when Debian turns 30, it finally gets a discount on its insurance. So it's good.
This episode of Destination Linux is sponsored by DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform. It's optimized to make managing and scaling apps easy with an intuitive API, multiple storage options, integrated firewalls, load balancers, and more. DigitalOcean also recently announced new features and services such as the Virtual Private Cloud, or VPC, in all regions free of charge. This lets you create multiple private networks to isolate your workloads. And also, we talked about earlier in the marketplace system where you can do the one-click install. They have multiple new easy, quick install droplets from Jitsi, Minecraft server, and also much more, including the Ghost thing that Ryan has checked out. And this is very cool options. You go to the marketplace, you want to click install. It's like within less than a minute. But you can do that by going to do.co/DLN, and you get a free $100 credit by going there, and that's good for 2 months for free. So it allows you to do, you get $100 credit to do multiple, like over a dozen droplets of the $5 series, or you can do like a monster droplet like for 2 months and just have a ridiculously powerful droplet if you want to do that. And that's available to you. And you can get started for free by going to do.co/DLN. DigitalOcean is a fantastic company that we all use, and it powers the Destination Linux network, and they power the forum, they power the infrastructure of our systems, and how great
they even
their
host
services
the
are.
DOS Geek website, which
Yeah,
is
I mean,
probably
Awesome.
the third most popular website in the world, I think.
They host both of the DOS Geek websites, and it's
That's
like,
right.
and they're
Ghost and WordPress.
and it made it super easy for Ryan to do, and you could tell that he doesn't know what he's doing based on what it looks like, but they made it really easy for him to set it up and
That's right.
get it there.
It's not their fault I don't know how to lay out a website.
It's not their fault at all.
They're such a wonderful community. They also sponsor the Linux Chicks of Los Angeles and host
That
our
is-
website.
That is awesome. Yeah. So if you want to host your website at DigitalOcean, go to do.co/DLN and get started right now with that $100 free credit. And thanks again to DigitalOcean for sponsoring Destination Linux.
Okay, Will writes us to say, "Hi guys, love your show and listen to it every week. One question I have for Michael, though, is what are some good design tools for creating wireframes and site designs for Linux? I'm a developer, but I am trying to improve my UX design skills. Starting a new job soon, which will mean I can use Linux fully at work and home. Smiley face. Yay. Also, listening to the last episode about having a standard way of reporting bugs in Linux was an awesome idea. What came into my head the whole time was Ryan should start a Python project to do this. He could start out with a simple CLI app where you type in what you're having a problem with, and it would direct you to that project support or bug raising channels with instructions. Given how awesome your community is, I am sure you would get heaps of pull requests to add things in no time. Regards, Will." Oh, thank you, Will. That was awesome.
Yeah, so I think,
Feedback.
I'll let you answer the web dev stuff, but for the Python question, I just want to jump in and say I did create a Python project for fun as part of my learning. I am in no way ready yet to build something that anybody would want to use besides the Michael AI bot.
Which is amazing. Yeah.
I was just going to ask about the Michael
Right.
AI.
Yeah, which is literally, we've downloaded Michael's entire brain into a Python script that is about 100 lines of code. It's insane. It's that efficient.
It's so efficient because it's actually I use the AI bot to help me with my weak thumbs, and it's very helpful, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
but
I have put a project out there on my GitHub that is an example of a interface that you could use to do bug reporting. But what the community is focused on, what we decided out of all of these things, is on our discourse forums, we have set up for people to start getting involved in a project for quality control and getting involved in testing Linux distros, utilizing our community from around the world. And we're getting a lot of people jumping in to say they can help. And so if you are interested and have any web design skills, especially when it comes to database backend creation and things, we would love to have your help there. So right now we're just waiting for everyone to kind of come in, and we're going to collect all those names and then set up some follow-up so that we could start building that out as a community, because I think it would be fun to take DLN and really become a part of some of the solutions versus just talking, sometimes about stuff, actually fixing some things. And I think we could do a lot of good work there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was blown away by how many people were who loved the idea and wanted to be a part of it. So if you are one of those people, feel free to join the forum. And as far as the response to the tools for wireframing, the wireframing is an interesting thing because the way it works is it's very minimal in what you need to do. So it's mostly just creating like boxes and drawings and stuff like that. So when I do wireframing, I use this thing called draw.io. It's not meant for wireframing. It's not actually a wireframing thing, but you can do it because it's more of like creating graphs and charts and stuff like that and just drawing shapes. But because wireframes are basically just geometric shapes the entire time, it makes it a lot easier to do it. And it's also a web-based system, so it's just a web app that you can load up and have it regardless of what operating system you're running at the time. So that's the one I use. There are others. I just don't remember them off the top of my head, but I do think that Draw.io is one to check out for sure. And we also covered it in one of our episodes previously, and I think it was one of the software picks. So you can check out the DestinationLinux.org/picks, and you can see all the picks that we've done. Well, basically the entire show. So all of that's there, and you'll find Draw.io there as well.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, we love hearing from our worldwide community. Emails like Will's, they are awesome. They help us think of things that we wouldn't have otherwise thought of and give us new ideas, and sometimes even help us make fun of Michael and his weak thumbs, which is amazing. So if you want your voice to be heard, you can send us a short email or video that might get incorporated into the show. Send your video links or emails to comments@DestinationLinux.org. And because I'm the one who picks them, complimenting me helps you get to the top of the list.
Yeah, of course. I like how you're like, feel free to troll Michael, but compliment me, and then it'll be on the show.
Right. That's how this works.
I'm not going to hide it at all. It's a little bit biased selection.
Just so you know.
So up next in the show is something I'm super excited about, and we're calling it Jill's Treasure Hunt. So last time we had Jill on Destination Linux, we received amazing feedback in the discussion we had on Jill's collection of older hardware. So we asked Jill to pick a piece of hardware from her collection of toys to highlight for this episode. So Jill, what treasure do you have to tell us about today?
Okay, so I'm going to pick it up in just a minute. But some of the most unique hardware and computers in my vintage computer collection are my collection of mini computers ranging as far back as the 1970s. So today I'm going to show you one of my most valuable and favorite unique small computers in my collection.
Nice.
This is such great timing because I've just gotten into mini computers. So, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Wait, that's not mini?
That's
Well, it is.
I'm teasing.
It is basically, it has a laptop motherboard, but see the unique shape?
It is so cool.
That is interesting. I've never heard of this one. Yeah.
Yeah, very rare. It actually is one of the rarest computers in my collection, and the local computer history museums have this on their list of ones they want.
I bet. So tell me about this machine, because I guess for the people who can't see it and are listening to the show, how do we describe the shape? It's like,
yeah, it's a purple and yellow cuboid shaped kind of teardrop, and
it reminds me of a car fender.
Oh yeah, that's a good explanation of.
It's even got racing stripes.
Yes.
Yep.
And it's called the Qurium PC, and the model is the Qurium CD663N.
And that's QRIUM for those who want to look it up after. It's got a CD-ROM in the front. It looks like a power button. Those can't be ports in the front. I'm guessing they didn't think of ports in the front, but no, they do. Okay, actually, at the bottom. Yep.
Yeah, USB, in fact. USB.
No kidding.
So originally, this computer sold for $449 in 1998 to 2000 by Daewoo, of all companies. Yes, Daewoo made computers.
Wow.
And it has a Pentium 3 733 megahertz processor, 512 megs of RAM, which I upgraded from 256, 20 gig Ultra DMA hard drive, and an Intel AGP GPU. And what's really cool is that, of course, it originally came with Windows 98 SE, but I installed the Debian-based GNU Step live CD on it when I got it from eBay back in 2001.
As is tradition, right?
Yes, of course. I didn't even boot Windows on it. I just immediately put a live CD in.
I think Windows is amazing to give me a base operating system to start installing Linux from. That's what I like.
Yes,
it's so nice of them.
Yeah.
So, and I still enjoy using this computer for web browsing using Firefox, and I even created today's DLN show notes with it. So I
no kidding.
I had to represent.
Awesome.
I had to represent.
That's amazing. I love that you take this older technology that a lot of people would be, if they did keep it, it would be on a shelf somewhere. And you use this stuff in your day-to-day, which shows you how powerful and relevant really these older computers still are today.
Yeah.
You're not going to go gaming and things on it, obviously, but you could still use it as a general purpose computer.
Oh, definitely. That's the beauty of Linux. It brings these old, computers back to life because you can run all the latest software. It might be a little slower, but it still runs.
So you did all of your note taking and things. So you obviously have modern browser and everything on this device running.
Mozilla
And how much
Firefox,
RAM does it have?
512 megabytes.
Oh my gosh. That's insane.
That's awesome.
And this computer, there's actually some other special things about it. In the year 2000, Intel awarded this computer one of 4 PC Recognition Awards for innovative design to highlight new PC designs that merge innovation, simplicity, and design. And this was not just because of its unique design, obviously, but because of the ports, which are all USB, 2 front and 2 in the back, and not PS2 like most computers of that era had.
You got your VGA port back there, your standard VGA and Ethernet port, and what's that other port?
Modem.
The
Phone modem, yes.
Wow. So no Wi-Fi on that unless you plug in a USB drive, I assume.
Yes. And actually, one of the other big reasons why it got the Intel award, it is because everything on it, including the plastic case, can be recycled. And that's what really gave him that reward. It's
that's awesome.
plastic. So, and I am a little worried, it's 20 years old now, and I am a little worried that it might degrade a little bit because the plastic they used was intended to degrade over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it hasn't yet, so thank God.
So did that come with a matching monitor kit or anything that you're aware of?
Yes, it had a USB keyboard and mouse, and then a monitor. But they weren't colored; they were just generic black.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
And there were actually 2 models: this cuboid one, and there was also a purple pyramid shaped one, which I never got my hands on. But that was the first one made, and then they made this one. So I'm still looking for that purple pyramid, but.
So for those who may not know, Daewoo is a car developer and manufactures automobiles, and decided apparently in the 90s, let's make a computer.
That makes so much sense why it looks like a fender.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Good observation. And they even made laptops and then boring looking computers too, but this was their first goal, first approach to making computers, something unique.
Oh, and you've blown my mind. It's awesome.
And because the keyboard and mouse were so generic, I used one of my favorite keyboard and mice from that generation, from the year 2000, and I'll show it to you.
We get more on the treasure hunt.
Nice.
This needs to be a thing, man. We need a treasure hunt with Jill's show.
Yeah,
that's all it is just treasure hunting with Jill through her own home. You just go through her home and pick out stuff. Like, tell me about that.
So this is my very first USB keyboard, mini keyboard. They made unique, back when USB started, they made a lot of very unique peripherals. And this was, at the time, very unique because it was hard to find a mini keyboard. And I picked it out because it had purple keys, so it would match the computer.
Nice. Of course, because you got to have matching historic computer parts.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And real quick, here's the mouse I use with it that everyone had to see.
Oh, that is amazing.
That is awesome.
So that the mouse and keyboard are actually from the 90s. So
for those who are listening, this is a mouse that is shaped like a penguin. And is colored perfectly like a penguin with a little red scarf around its neck and everything.
Yeah.
It has the scroll wheel, the 2 buttons are the eyes. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love how you represent Linux in everything you do, including the peripherals.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's my special QRIAM computer. I love it.
Yes. Well, that is an awesome treasure hunt. And I don't know, somehow we've got to get you back to do another treasure hunt.
We have to have another one soon. At some point. We have to know.
We can just do a tour of Jill's house and we pick something. Like, tell me that. What's that? Like, we're at a real museum, a virtual museum tour of Jill's house.
Exactly. I mean, and I was wondering what it was going to be, and it's like it's an awesome thing that I never knew existed, and it's like this.
I had no idea.
And it's also, and it for something was from the 90s or like for that, it looks like a very slick or design. Yeah, like they did a really interesting approach to that. So it's like
You know,
they took effort into making it look good in this, and also have like a stylish like race car style. Which when you first brought it up, I was like, that looks
exactly.
like a race car
Mhm.
kind of thing to me. And I think,
Yeah.
and it's the fact that it was made by a car company is even more awesome.
Right.
Yes. And everything was a beige box back then. So this was huge.
Exactly.
This was so innovative. And I was always, I was case modding all my beige computers because I was so sick of the beige.
Oh
I'd
yeah.
paint them
Right.
and make them pretty colors.
Oh yeah. I remember the beige model
Yes.
of computers.
I
Yeah.
remember the sharp edges inside them too.
Oh,
You never forget
yes.
those.
We all have gotten cut from those
Yep.
sharp edges
Absolutely.
Yeah.
from building systems.
Yeah. So we're definitely gonna do this again. Absolutely.
Cool. Okay. This is actually really sad news. Mozilla is struggling, as you've probably heard a lot in the news.
Right.
It's been widely talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in the news this week with a second round of reductions this year, numbering 250 people, and that was a quarter of its entire workforce.
That's
Just
massive.
And, with the coronavirus pandemic, which significantly impacted our revenue, Mozilla CEO Mitchell Baker wrote in a blog post, one of the contributing factors. And, this is fresh off the 70 people laid off in January of this year. And as the company struggles to diversify its paid and subscription-based offerings, such as Pocket, its VPN service, its VR chat room hubs, and new security and privacy tools. So sad. They've been really hanging on there and trying, new forms of revenue.
I really wanted to get your take on this too, Jill, because we've talked about the importance of Mozilla and Firefox. And
Yes.
a lot of people mentioned today, I see a lot of people going to Brave and things because it has that Chromium engine. And look, Google is investing millions and millions of dollars and has endless amounts of money to throw at problems to fix them and make things faster and more efficient. So there's really, it's almost an impossible task for Mozilla to be able to be one of the only, because once Microsoft moved to Internet Explorer, they're really one of the only ones left besides Safari on a different engine that's not Chromium based. So you've really got Firefox fighting this by themselves. And
Mhm. I
this
know, it's-
this impact that they have to their workforce is massive. When you're taking out 70 people in January and then another 250, first of all, I feel so bad for all the families and everybody, because losing your job in the middle of a pandemic, I can't think of something really, really worse that you could imagine in your career taking place, especially at that time. I do want to mention, from a good news standpoint, I am so proud of the open source companies out there that are tweeting and sending out notes to these employees saying, contact us. We want you. You're obviously highly skilled. We have job openings. It's just been, I've seen it all week, and I'm really proud to see the open source community and the companies that are at least surviving through this, looking to pick up some of this talent. But let's be honest, it's so many people, maybe if 50 of them might get picked up or something, but you just got a lot of people that are going to be struggling through this. But I don't know, what is the answer here with Mozilla? Is it a dead end fight to try to be this engine by themselves, or are we forced all now to just be Chromium based? Because it seems like that's where it's going.
I know, it's so depressing. Now, I actually donate to Mozilla every year, and that's something that everyone in the community could be doing. And that would really, really help them a lot. That's how Thunderbird is getting a lot of they're staying afloat, Thunderbird, through sponsors and people helping out.
What's so frustrating to me with some things that, and I know that it could be a result of, again, losing talent and things, but Firefox releases a privacy tool, which we actually talked many months ago in prior episodes, saying Mozilla needs to diversify outside the browser if they want to survive. I think this was last year we were talking about it.
Yeah.
And so they came up with some services like that, like VPN services and stuff, but then they don't work on Linux. And that's really, it's kind of like the people who really love you, Firefox, is the Linux community. Like we should be your first target.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not your secondary target. So I feel like they're making some missteps here in understanding who their audience is and the people who are interested in that, because the people who are going to use Firefox over Chromium or even Brave and other things are going to be your highly technical, privacy-focused individuals. So VPN service, perfect product, not making it work for Linux on the onset. Terrible, terrible launch idea.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely an issue that it's sad that they're having to deal with this kind of thing. And I do think that it's difficult because of Firefox's importance to open source, because they've been a very important project for so long. And they're also important to Linux because they're the default, Firefox is the default browser for basically every distro. Not every distro, but almost every distro. And it's because of that, their focus on privacy and security and making sure that it respects your freedoms and stuff like that. So it's sad not only because people are losing their jobs, because that, especially in a pandemic, it's sad in general. But also this, because it's Mozilla doing it, it's even more like apparent that there needs to be something done to try to help the future of one of the most important open source projects that has existed for years.
Here's my big fear, though, Michael, is that according to some employees that are discussing this on the social media site Knitter, which I'd never heard of before, but there were screenshots of it on Reddit posts talking about Mozilla cuts were so deep. It included the entire threat management team that handles threat detection and incident response. And so if you're getting rid of that, now, again, this is just people talking on the internet, so maybe it's not true. Maybe they've moved other resources in, but it starts to look real scary real fast if some of this ends up being true.
Yes, that does sound pretty bad. And maybe I'm just delusionally hopeful. I don't know.
But I want you to be, and I'm glad you and Jill are, and we should be. And I think Jill's advice here is that if you don't want the entire internet owned by Google, essentially, and in control of Google, which we all know what that means, you better start looking at, if you can, giving some money to support this foundation, because once it's gone, it's all Chromium. That's all that's left.
That's scary.
Like, that's one of the things that people promote Firefox as well. Don't just say, hey, use whatever browser you want. It's like, let them know why Chromium and Chrome are problematic to the web, because Google they already control a lot of stuff, and controlling the web would be just detrimental to everyone, because they essentially could do whatever they want to the entire ecosystem of the web. That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we did have a little bit of good news, fortunately, is that Google is expected to extend their search deal with Mozilla for another 3 years in November. And I'm pretty sure
going to help.
That will happen, and that will definitely help. And this will, ensure that Google, of course, will continue to be the default search engine in Firefox until 2023. It's going to be around 400 million to 450 million per year, which is very significant. And Firefox needs that revenue, because back in January, it was drying up when they had to lay off the original 70 people. So
this is interesting, because wasn't it Microsoft gave a bunch of money to Apple back in the day to keep them alive from an anti-competitive standpoint? I remember hearing that. And so obviously Apple took that money and became the most wealthy tech company in the world with it. But you never know. Sometimes Google knows that from an antitrust standpoint, keeping a competitor out there, period, probably has some benefit. So at least we can say, Google throwing them that bone, that's the majority of their revenue, by the way, that they reportedly said this is the majority of their revenue comes from this one deal. You gotta give praise where it's due. Google is, at least, even if it's for their own benefit, giving them a massive amount of money, keeping this alive right now. Because without it, there's no doubt that this would be probably their full employee base going away.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that Google is the one that is, I know it's good that they're doing it, and it's good that they're, doing this approach, even if it is for the anti-competitiveness. But I just want to go ahead and say that as DLN, I want this to be, I want the community to be the majority, not Google, because that could be easily, they could just pull the rug out from under them if they want to, even if it is at the moment maybe like an anti-competitive thing for their own benefit. But maybe someday they're willing to battle with the antitrust thing or whatever. And I'd rather the community be a part of that, and I think DLN is definitely going to be a part of that. So DLN is going to be making a donation to Firefox and Mozilla as a community to hopefully change that tide so that the percentage is no longer a majority on the Google side.
There you go.
Yeah, we need to keep the legacy of Netscape alive also, because that's, Firefox's code comes from Netscape. And, that independent spirit, our open source browser that even Google wants, Firefox to survive, because it gives them a competitor and it pushes them to innovate as well.
Absolutely.
Mozilla has a lot of incredible innovations, and actually just recently they're going to do hardware support, VAPI hardware support for WebRTC applications. And that's pretty innovative.
Well, look at the container system. Nobody has the container system. It's the most innovative thing.
Yeah, I think Firefox, not only it's not just like a dire thing of saying, hey, Firefox is dying, that we have to protect them or whatever. It's also because Firefox, in my opinion, is the better browser. Like, it just happens to be better, and it's also having some issues. So I want to make sure that I don't lose the best browser. So that's why I want to we're going to put some money towards to make sure that doesn't happen. So I think like the container tabs is a fantastic example. The best feature of any browser, period, and it's in Firefox. So if you have never tried the container tabs or multi-account containers as they call them now, you definitely need to go to check out Firefox and install that extension and just play with it and see what you can do. And I'm also making a video to make it easier to know how to use it coming up this week on my channel. So do that. And so best luck and best wishes to Firefox because, well, I just want to continue to use Firefox. Yeah.
We love you, Firefox, Mozilla.
So our security tip this week is brought to you by Bitwarden. Now, the security tip is to use passphrases in place of passwords, especially when they're a password that you need to memorize. Passphrases can include spaces or character delimiters, numbers, special characters, and they're much easier to remember than a bunch of random digits and numbers and your typical password when you have a random generator. For instance, like I went into Bitwarden and you can have it do a random generation of a password for you. And I went from password to passphrase because a little drop-down menu, and it came up with, and I wanted numbers in it, sizzling 6 perennial wash basin. That is such an off-the-wall thing that you could memorize it. But if you don't, then you just keep telling it to generate till it comes up with a random phrase. And the idea is you want it to be complex. You don't want it to be something like song lyrics or things that actually hackers could easily guess. So you want it to be random, but something you could remember, words that maybe are in your vocabulary. But this is something that a lot of people utilize as their main password for something where they may not have access for whatever reason to their password manager on their phone or their computer. They're using Bitwarden, but they need to memorize that one password. Maybe it's their main password to get into Bitwarden. Using a passphrase is a really good way of being able to do that.
Yeah, I think passphrases are a great solution for people who want to be able to remember certain things, but like you're not going to be able to remember all of those passwords, right? But you're also never going to remember those random gibberish passwords. But a passphrase is a good solution and an alternative for having still a powerful solution, as long as you do what Ryan said about like not doing something like a song lyrics or anything that is like a regular sentence. And using the Bitwarden generation for passphrases is a really good option because it allows you to give like random anywhere between like a couple of words to like dozens of words to have it in between. But also you just like put like characters, symbols, and dashes and stuff like that in there. And it is very good. That I think it's one of the best solutions for people who still want to be able to remember certain passwords, but at the same time still have that security as well. But you also make sure that these words do not connect to each other. It's kind of like that XKCD.
That's why you need the random generator, honestly, because your natural thing is going to be use kids' names, pet names, and things that other people are going to be able to figure out about you and guess. So that's why you want that random generation in there.
Yeah, there was like that meme that's about I think it's XKCD that did it, where it's pointing out how some passwords are not as secure as you think they are, and something like correct horse battery staple is a lot better. Well, don't use that because that's from the meme, but something like that.
Right. Well, that's why you need a good password manager, and the password manager that Michael and I and everyone on Destination Linux Network use and trust is Bitwarden. Bitwarden is the easiest and safest way for individuals, teams, and businesses to store, share, and sync your sensitive data, because you can store more than just passwords there. They also have a notes section, which I'll take advantage of to give information and secure and encrypt those notes that I may need to use at a different time. You can go to bitwarden.com/DLN to get started for free. But here's the thing. You could go with the free account, and it's amazing that they provide that. But for just $10 a year, not a week, not a month, $10 per year, they're going to give you a gigabyte of encrypted file storage, 2-step login with YubiKey, U2F, and Duo, Vault Health Reports, TOTP authentication, storage and generation, priority customer support, and more. You get all that for $10 a year. Additionally, you're giving them $10 a year. Giving them funds helps keep them alive, keep them open source. They also use that money to go out there and get third-party audits. So not only do you have the security of an open source community looking at the code and being able to view it and make sure it's secure, they also hire third-party firms to come in and do security audits on them just to make sure nothing was missed from the community as well. So it's something you can absolutely trust. We love Bitwarden, and thank Bitwarden for sponsoring this episode of Destination Linux.
So up next in the show, we're going to do our big topic, and it's going to be dream hardware in Linux. So with a hardware expert like Jill on, we thought it would be fun to go to discuss Yes, of course. We have to discuss hardware in some way, so we thought it'd be fun to do the future of interacting with our computers. We have so many emerging technologies out there, and we want to discuss what technologies we think will change the way we use and interact with our computers in the next decade to come, like augmented reality, virtual reality, that sort of thing. So for real quick, for those who are not aware, augmented reality is where a computer, images, and stuff like that is superimposed over user environments via headsets or screens and goggles and things like that. Virtual reality is like a full environment replacement, so it creates a complete full immersion through a headset, through a virtual experience, that sort of thing. So AR and VR and other things, that's like a combination of the two or something. Anyway, save me here on the hardware things. That's not my thing. So Jill and Ryan, take it.
Well, listen, everyone's going to want to hear what Jill has to say here, because I think it's interesting. You are so focused in the historic. You have so many amazing pieces from the past. And during this time in the past, they were imagining what are new ways that we are going to interact with computers? What are new ways that how are these computers going to look? Are we going to need computers in our home? Are we going to need keyboards and a mouse and those things? And these conversations have gone on and on. There's many talks out there from Steve Jobs and Bill Gates that imagined back in the day that we wouldn't be sitting here with a mouse and keyboard anymore. Even way back then, they were looking for a different way. And as much as people have tried to implement new ways of doing things, different designs of keyboards, different ways of projecting keyboards onto desktops and all these aspects, nothing's really taken off past the mouse and keyboard. So, but there are things that are emerging here that I think for the first time we have the technology to make them quite amazing. I think cost is the big restriction here when you think of things like virtual reality. I mean, I love hardware. I still haven't put $1,000 into a virtual reality headset because it's just for gaming. And that's a really hard sale for somebody who has kids, and my gaming time is shrunk a lot down. But then augmented reality comes in, and this to me is something that, Noah's very big on this as well. He had the Google glasses and he showed them on the show before. It seems like you're superimposing images onto your environment. So now it becomes my navigation, it becomes my interface to my phone. But you really haven't seen this take off very well either. I mean, people have launched Google Glasses. There was, I don't know, some other variations from different Facebook, I think, and stuff have put things out there. Apple's reportedly going to be releasing something in this realm, but you don't see the excitement that you see when, say, AMD drops a new Ryzen processor. So what do you think, Jill? What's going on here?
Well, I think very, very, very soon we're going to all be using touch screens on every device, and all of them interconnected wirelessly. And I think that's very soon in our future. We're already starting to get the phone, working with the desktop. Right. And this includes the likes of, Canonical's Ubuntu Linux Convergence. that Mark Shuttleworth was, really ahead of the time with that. And way back when with WebOS, with the HP touchpad and Palm
Mhm.
Pre and Palm Pixie, they were
Oh,
all
you're singing to me. Palm Pre makes me so happy just hearing
Yeah.
it. I love that.
This
Yes.
is the funny thing is
my
like
favorite phones.
I actually got rid of I don't get rid of I keep all my hardware really, but I was like I have all these boxes, this box of phones, and I was like I'm just gonna put it in my closet, but I made sure to take out the one Palm Pre that I have and put it on my bookcase because that's the only phone I actually like. It's like then I still like it even though I can't really use it, but
It's
I still
aged
want
out,
it.
but it's amazing. Yeah.
Like I still love
Yeah.
WebOS. It's so awesome.
Same here. It's still one of my favorite OSs. In fact, I'm using the open source LunaOS right now on my OnePlus One. So
Nice.
I got that on
Nice.
there.
Let me check that out.
In the show notes, I put lots of different options of what I think the future would be, but I definitely think touchscreens is going to be the soonest. We're going to get
Now,
that
when you say
sooner.
touchscreen, are you thinking like the Star Trek world? Because I know you're a big Star Trek fan, which is
Yes.
one of the many reasons I love you so much. But in Star Trek, everything was on the panels, especially Next Generation. I'm talking about here, kind of
Yeah.
touchscreen, right? It was all touchscreen interactions. There were no physical keys you were pushing. Is that what you mean when you say touchscreen, or do you mean like the laptop where you're moving stuff on your screen with your finger?
I think, well, initially, the laptop, your main computer, there won't be as much of a future with the keyboard and mouse, although, that's still got to be there for us creative types and the
Right.
create content.
Right.
But for the average user, I think, their main computers, not just their cell phones and their tablets, but their main computers will be probably just initial touch screen monitors like they are now that you can buy.
So this is
But
kind of the Apple world of the iPad Pro, where they're basically, the famous commercial, the kid going, "What's a computer?" And they're attaching an iPad now to basically, if you want a keyboard, if you want to use that, you attach it to a base that's magnetic, and you've got the keyboard. But for the most part, everything's right on that screen, that one screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's near future. And then in the far future, I think we're going to have, the projected screen. We're going to have 3D holograms. And in fact, they're already working on holographic drive storage now. So that has been, worked on for a while. And I really see that, that the world of Star Wars and Star Trek, those communication forms. And in fact, Star Trek innovated a lot of what we're using today.
It's true, yeah.
Even with the use of compact discs and DVDs, that idea came from the classic Trek episode All Our Yesterdays with Ataz the librarian, and they were looking at the movies in different periods of time on these discs, and that helped inspire the DVDs and CDs of the time, which is one way we interacted with technology.
The world needs more Star Trek.
Yes. Yeah. And the ability to talk to the computer in the original series, and now we have that now,
right?
And with the Internet of Things, and in next gen with the pad or personal access display device, which became the iPad and our tablets.
Yeah, absolutely.
So science fiction breathes life into the future.
It's amazing how much privacy is holding back. Privacy and security are holding back the innovation at this time, because obviously someone like me would love a whole home system that's, efficient and well made, like an Alexa or Siri that I can talk to at any part in my house and play music or do a captain's log as I pretend I'm a captain walking around my house. But what Star Trek never covered was the fact that what if there was a big giant corporation spying on your captain's log every time you entered it in? Mm-hmm. And I think this is what is holding a lot of these technologies back, is that the geeks who would be pushing this and telling our families, you got to get this and stuff, are kind of like, no, don't, because the companies have rolled out these products with nefarious reasons built into them, purposes built into them. Yeah. And it's sad because all of our homes at this point could be automated with these assistants. But I know people who are not technically inclined at all that will not put these things in their homes because they're afraid of what the companies are doing with them. And it's actually holding back progress.
Yeah. We need the decentralized world, and we need it now. There's all these, open source projects for decentralization, but that does need to become a standard.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, and also it's like the thing is, you said that it's kind of holding it back, but it kind of has to because of what they're trying to do. So it's holding back the innovation for what could be, but it's also because they are trying to be as invasive as possible.
They're ruining themselves.
Yes.
They're ruining the adoption of products because they're putting nefarious things inside. But, moving on, because, privacy stuff isn't as fun, although it's an important thing to cover. You mentioned holograms, and this really struck me. I wasn't thinking about holograms when I was going through the notes of this episode, but when you said it, the instant image that came into my head was an arcade machine called the Time Traveler. Does anybody remember this?
Yes.
The Time Traveler was a hologram like, I don't know, was it Laserdisc based or something like that?
I think it was Laserdisc. I'd only seen it once. Yes.
And so I remember seeing this in the arcade as a kid, because we had these arcades that we'd go to in the mall. I know those young listeners right now have no idea what we're talking about.
Arcade?
Our parents for
Are you
quarters.
saying archaic? Is that what you're trying to say?
But these were amazing games, and this was actually a hologram-like entity. It was using mirrors, I think, to reflect and create a hologram-like appearance of you were traveling through time, and the button timing never really worked with the movie quite right, and it wasn't perfect, but we thought this is the future, right? All the arcades coming out from now on have got to be hologram, and they will perfect the timing of hitting your buttons and your character not reacting until 5 seconds later. They'll fix that stuff, but it never happened, right? We never got the Star Wars chessboard. We never got this.
Yeah. The funny thing is
we never got 3D asteroids.
Yeah. The thing is that there are people doing holographic stuff, but it's all in like experimental. Like they've been experimental the entire time. Like there's now this thing you can get. It's like an attachment for your phone, and it sits on top of the phone, and it creates a holographic a projection at the top, like through the detachment. It's an interesting thing that is cool for like demos, but not really useful that much. So but there also is like I don't really want to give them credit, but they are doing something that's kind of interesting with Microsoft's HoloLens, and their demonstrations of HoloLens is pretty cool, and
it's fascinating.
Yeah, I really want them to like kind of go far out into that, like test out that space, because it has a lot of potential, because it's essentially AR but through holograms. And I think that has a ton of potential. Kind of reminds me of like, what's it called? What's that name of that movie? Minority Report. That thing where there's like holographic screens everywhere and stuff like that. Just it looks like you could maybe someday get there through the HoloLens. So I hope that they do that and also decide not to be awful privacy people. So because I want to play with that, provided that they don't try to steal all of my data.
Yeah,
so I see gesture controls, going back to the Minority Report, being a thing in the near future. Obviously, we're utilizing that quite a bit. It's becoming, as our kids are growing up, they're used to utilizing gestures as a part of interacting with their phones.
Oh, yeah.
And, I do have to ask, though, Jill, going back, and you have some awesome ideas looking at your notes here that I want to get to. So we've got a lot to cover in a short time. We're just going to have you back on this topic. But going back to integration, one of the things is, I was playing for 30 days in the Apple ecosystem, and their integration was the number one thing. There were a lot of things I didn't like. There are a lot of bad things out there that, are negative in the Apple world, such as repairability and things, but their integration is dead on. Like, you get an Apple device, doesn't matter which one, their AirPods, their iPads, they all interact with each other. You can send stuff between them through gestures very easily, or simple clicks of a button. We're really far behind in Linux world. Like, we can't even iPhones won't even connect to Linux. Of course, not Linux fault necessarily very well. Even the, KDE Connect is really, it's great. It's the best thing we have, but it's a far cry from what's happening in other ecosystems. So are we going to fall behind here?
I don't think so. I think, open source will come to the charge, and, people will start developing, and maybe, it actually, Ryan, that's a good question, because open source in and of itself, we're very, we are very fractured.
Right.
But when we need to be, we can come together. And the nice thing is like the Linux kernel, for instance, Linus always makes sure to include the latest and future driver support in the kernel, which helps tremendously, so that people can make the open source projects that then we can hopefully have them all work together.
Yep. And
you're right, that will be the challenge, is to have a cohesive piece of software that runs a particular AR or projection.
To me, the only hope in Linux right now for this at the moment is, like you said, some companies invested in it probably too early. And I've been a part of company innovation where we did things that now are super popular and everybody wants, but we did them at a time when nobody cared. And your natural reaction is to go, well, let's not go back there because we spent a lot of money and it didn't work. And so they kind of forget about it and they stop taking risks. But I think we have to be risky. We have to take risk in the open source community. In fact, it's the perfect place to take risks in the open source community. And, we're going to need to get ourselves there. But the company that's bringing us the closest, I feel like, is Pine 64. And the reason I say that is their tablet and phone and laptops and the integration potential there is insane.
Yeah, and if there was a collaboration between, a company like Pine 64 and another company that's that did the space, like that would be amazing. Like the potential there is great, and Pine 64 is already doing a lot of awesome stuff. So I'm not trying to say that that's not the thing is, but I think that Pine 64 has done a massively cool, innovative thing on the hardware level. But we still need that software piece to get there as well. So I think that if there was a combination between them and another company, that would be amazing. But I'm gonna be a little bit negative, sort of. You said something about like, are we falling behind? And I'm no, we are not falling behind because we're already behind. So we're already in that position.
It's true, but it's important we say that because you said it's negative, but honestly, it's not. It's really saying I think as a community, Linux popularity has grown far past what even 4 years ago I would have imagined it would become. But we can't just sit in neutral, as I tell my teams all the time. If you want to become worthless, just sit in neutral and do the same thing you've been doing year over year over year. And eventually you'll find yourself out of a job because that's how it works. If you think I'm really good at this one thing and I keep doing it and I just keep doing that, eventually the company passes you by, the world passes you by. And in Linux, we're being passed by right now. It's important to talk about in the integration realm. We are passed by. Believe me, we are passed by.
Yeah.
In playing with the Apple ecosystem, we are passed by in that area. Now, we can catch up and we could probably catch up faster than anybody else. But it's important to talk about it because if you don't talk about it and you're not putting that into the developers' heads, then they're not going to be thinking about that. They're just going to be thinking about how do I interact with the computer with a keyboard?
Yeah.
Well, that's not the future.
And that's exactly the point. Like when I was saying it was like, but it's also because I want them to look at the potential of what it could be. Like, for example, KDE Connect is fantastic. It is so powerful in what it can do. But certain things that it can do are just limited where they're not quite there. Like there are certain things you could do with KDE Connect that a lot of people don't even know you can. Like you could have it where you set up scripts that you can run from your phone on your computer through KDE Connect. But in order to do that, it's it's fairly involved to get it to be done. But you could do it. And if they just made that process simpler and an easier, straightforward way of doing it, you could make KDE Connect as the full convergence of what it could be. Like it has potential to do that. If we just had the community, like instead of trying to make like different forks of KDE Connect, like GS Connect and all these other things that people are trying to do, if we just had people working together to make KDE Connect what it could be, because a lot of people don't even realize that KDE Connect is not specifically for Plasma. It works on all DEs. You can use it wherever you want.
And there are spins of it renamed, which is just basically KDE Connect.
And they're basically the same thing, and they just rename it. And also some of them even depend on the KDE Connect Android app to make it work. So you still need to get the KDE Connect thing. So like if we just all collectively was like, you know what, this is what we see this as a huge potential. Let's all get behind it and make it what it can be. Like if that was to happen, I think that we would be able to jump ahead very quickly.
One more interesting note on that, Michael, is I was looking at an article. I think it was from Fedora Magazine or Red Hat, and not to pick on them because I see it all over the place, but it was just the one that happened this week. And it was like, hey, I think it was easily integrate Jack or something with Fedora now. And then you open it up and it's like 80,000 terminal commands. And I'm like, this is not the integration. This is not when you put an article out like that, this is not what people are thinking of is hitting the terminal and putting all of these commands in to get it to function. No.
Here's a quick tip for UX. We had a question earlier, like in the feedback, someone asked about UX stuff. Just as a tip for all projects, regardless, if you want to use the word simple and easy, and you put command line related to it, you are wrong.
Yeah.
go.
Just don't,
Very-
if you have to
Nothing
rely on
wrong
the
with command line.
Yes,
just
the
don't
command
use
line's
those words
awesome.
together.
Yeah, the command line's awesome. You could say it's faster, sure. More efficient, sure. More powerful, sure. But easy, no, because your perception of easy is not the same as a beginner user or an average user or someone switching over to it. So when they see those terms, they are expecting it to not require them to start running commands and making sure the different pipes are working and all this other stuff. Need to like refocus.
A good Apple commercial
Don't
would
use
have been that kid in the grass going, "Mom, what's a terminal?" That would probably
That would be, yes, that would be accurate.
Jill, before we move on, because I want to close out this segment, but there was one thing here that was so critical I wanted to touch on. Is you were talking about neural implants, and I wanted to see what your thoughts were on this.
Yeah, I definitely think in the far future that is definitely, it's going to be a thing. And we could have AR and VR in our eyes with neural implants. And
Imagine that.
That would be amazing. It's something, through reading science fiction and watching science fiction through all the years, I know it's going to happen because people are already starting to put chips in them to do certain things, and for people who have physical disabilities, they're starting to do that.
Right.
So
I run Arch in my eyes.
yes.
Love it.
Everyone, we'd all love to have Linux inside of us, right?
Right.
Of course.
Kernel.
Now, instead of Intel inside, it'll be Linux inside, and it's literal. We literally mean it will be inside you.
We could be our own Internet of Things or system on chip.
Right.
And
my arm is Michael's Wi-Fi hotspot when we're traveling.
Perfect.
There you go.
Perfect. I mean, Elon Musk is actually trying to work on something like that right now. So maybe we're even getting to that point to someday do that. I'm very terrified by that. So just give me goggles first. But
same here.
To help with your weak thumbs.
Oh, in that case, just inject whatever weird chips and stuff. Because I need to get rid of the weak thumb.
The Michael AI needs a custom keyboard so that he doesn't have to use his thumbs as much.
Yeah, because they're really weak.
All right. Let's just end it there.
What a great closeout. That's the best closeout ever. All right, in our gaming section this week, I want to cover first August 30th, right after Destination Linux Live. If you're a patron, immediately after that, we're going to take a short break, and at 4 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be gaming for DLN Game Fest. So you're going to play a bunch of games like Tux Kart, Xonotic, Gang Beast, Shell Shock, Golf with Your Friends. Noah's going to be there. I'm going to be Jill.
Yes, I am going to be there.
Awesome.
I put it on my calendar last week when you made the announcement.
We might even be able to get some discussions in on the future of gaming and make Jill do a treasure hunt. Who knows what could happen on DLN Game Fest? But make sure you are there and get ready. Get those games installed to play. But this week, I wanted to cover CSGO gets more enhancements. Now, CSGO, for those who are hiding under a rock or maybe not interested in gaming, is probably the most popular competitive tournament first-person shooter out there. It's been around since 2012, the CSGO version. I think it was even well before then, the original.
Yeah, it's like I think the first one was like 2002 or something.
Yeah, so this game's been out for a while, and it is a game made by Valve. It's one of the things that made Valve popular, one of the many games that made Valve popular out there. It's a fantastic game. Michael and I had one of the greatest gaming sessions of all time on this game. And it was the one time we were like, let's not do it live, which was the dumbest mistake ever because I wish you all could see how terrible we were. This is when CSGO released their missions.
Yeah, they released their mission
You have to go in there
system.
and you collaboratively go to beat these missions. We could not get past the boat where you just arm yourself because we were blowing each other up. We were doing all kinds of stupid shenanigans. It was insane, but it's a fun game.
It's a really fun game, and I also want to give you a little bit of extra information. And I think when you were saying that we should have streamed it, I think we still could because do you remember how we beat it the first time? I don't remember at all. Like
it would be just as bad the second
so it would probably be just as bad. So we could do it, but I also wanted to tell you because I didn't tell you this at the time, but I cheated. It was because technically, sort of.
Really?
Michael AI.
I didn't cheat the game. What I cheated is that I played with someone else who told me how to fix it and how to do it, and then we went. And then I came back. I was like, "Hey,
you cheating scumbag!"
but I don't remember what the solutions were. So it would be right back to normal. But it was like the guy I play with Rocket League with, my duo partner, Sweet Mormon Bunny is the guy we were talking about, and he plays shooters games with us. And we would I was like, hey, have you ever played this? He's like, no, I haven't played this before. And then we play it, and he's like so good at shooting these shooter games that we beat it in like 3 tries. I was like, I'm just gonna watch what happens.
No wonder when we went back to finally beat it, you're like, why can't you jump up here? You just jump up here and then go across this and drop down. I'm like, how does he know this? How has he figured this out? Yeah. Now it all makes sense.
Yeah, I figured it out by someone else telling me how to do it.
Jill, have you ever played CSGO?
Yes. In fact, over at LinuxGameCast, we played Counter-Strike Global Offensive, the Forever Alone mode. And
fantastic.
That's what we call it. And in fact, we used DigitalOcean Droplet to play that game.
Nice.
Into our hearts here.
When it came out. Yeah.
Very cool. And
it was a lot of fun, and it worked. The Droplet worked great. And we had 16 players playing. So that was really cool. And I had not played Counter-Strike too much until that particular version came out. So
yeah, and it's so neat that they're continuing to add in battle arenas and keeping it current with the trends going on with gaming, considering how old it is, but they still keep it current, and it's still one of the most accurate shooters. That's why a lot of the tournament gamers like to use it, because the projectiles of the bullets and the timing between the keyboard or the latency, I should say, between the keyboard and the character actually happening is near immediate, which is why people love it so much. And that's one of the key elements. But they've added things like weapon skins to the new Fractured Weapon series, featuring designs from over 17 community artists in there that they've added in.
That's cool.
And they've made the Shattered Web Knives a rare specialty item, better and faster matchmaking, map updates, and FPS optimizations. New anti-cheat system that blocks certain apps from running while you're in game. This is a big problem in CSGO because it's so popular, because it's so competitive, and people want to win these items and things out there. They will sometimes cheat and ruin the game.
There's a lot of cheaters. I was watching this streamer one time. There was like a compilation of things, and there was 2 things I wanted to tell you. There was a streamer, and they were like, "Oh, I can see through their walls." I was like, I don't know how this happened. Is this a new feature? And it's like, you have a hack on. It's obvious you have a hack on. And then the next one was someone made, this was the best thing ever. They created a thing in CSGO where it's designed to be, it's a hack you install that actually screws up everything. So by installing this hack, it would you throw a grenade, it would lock you to that position where the grenade just destroys you. And then every time you shoot, it would if you shot with this hack on, it would throw your gun at them so you have no gun anymore. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. Well, they've got texture fixes, bug fixes, and many more enhancements. Never a better time to go play CSGO. Just don't expect to survive very long, because the players who have been playing it since the 90s will own you, but you can still have a ton of fun with it.
Yeah. The first time I played it, I was like, let's play this. And we went into a lobby, and it's like, no, we can't be in here.
No, we
can't. Just the random lobbies, oh, you're new. Here you go. Yeah, good luck. I mean, if you're new but also good at the game, you probably be okay. But we're not good at games, so that's what happens.
Yeah. We're new and bad at games. So
yeah. New and bad.
Perfect combination.
Okay, so we're continuing our exploration of the Linux file system in our tips and tricks section. Last time it was /boot. And so this week it will be /dev. And so far we've covered /temp, /bin, and /boot. So /dev is a directory in the file structure that's important to remember, as you will find your devices here, ranging from storage devices to things like webcams or other peripherals, such as external storage or USB drives. And this is something very, very important. Remember that everything in Linux is a file. And that's one of the beauties of this operating system. Data is passed from an application to the device file in /dev, which then passes it to the device driver, which then sends it to the physical device.
Right.
Yes.
It sounds like it's a big roundabout way of doing things.
But it's efficient.
It's very efficient. It's extremely efficient. And once you get used to that going into /dev to find the drives that you've mounted and things, it becomes second nature. But I remember the first time being in Linux 4 years ago going, what is happening here? What is this file system, and what's /dev, and how do I go navigate to it? It was kind of crazy. But once you get it, it's second nature and just makes sense.
Yeah. Have you guys ever edited devices?
Yes.
Yes, cool.
I think I have, but following somebody's guide where I'm pretty much just typing in what they're telling me to. But
Yeah, I had to figure out certain like environmental variable structures to do something for one of my. Like I was trying to do something really silly, and it was to take two keyboards and have one. They're both basically they're just regular keyboards, but having one keyboard detected as a separate thing that didn't use actual keys, it would its own separate signals. In order to do that, you had to do a lot of different environmental variables and changes and stuff like that. And it was really cool. I got it to work, and then after all of that, I had to. Well, basically, I had some hardware issues, and I replaced my hardware. And then I was like, I don't want to do it again. I'm just going to go get a macro keyboard.
that was me in Jack Audio. Like I set it up once, had it perfect in a system, and then I was like, when I re-imaged the machine, I was like, I'll just stick with Pulse Audio. And I found a way to fix Pulse Audio to do what I needed Jack to do. So that was my fix. Out there on my GitHub.
I did back in the day with sound cards that weren't supported under Linux, getting them to work.
Oh, nice. That's way more useful than what we did. All right, up next is our software spotlight, and it is a thing I will totally say wrong, so I'm going to tell it multiple different pronunciations. Ciano, Ciano. Yeah, sure, why not? It's Ciano. It is a GUI to convert multimedia files to the most popular formats. You can do conversions of multiple files at the same time. It has the possibility of changing the output folder. It also has notification support when things are completed, and you can also do like an easy, kill the application really quickly with the Control Q a shortcut. So that's kind of thing of like just in case it starts doing it and you're like, I don't really want to do it this way, you can fix it that way. And it's really it's a really interesting approach to using FFmpeg in a GUI style, because I have, FFmpeg is a fantastic tool for conversions. It is super powerful. It is amazing, really. Yeah. And it is ridiculously powerful and at the same time ridiculously confusing and complicated and complex.
Switches aren't always very intuitive.
And also the order of when you do certain things can break other things you do in later order. It's a mess. So when Ryan showed me this, I was like, okay, this has a lot of potential. It's a GUI for FFmpeg that makes it a lot easier to do like MP4, MPEG, AVI, WMV, FLV, MKV, OGV,
I made a GIF with
all this stuff.
I took a movie I recorded on OBS and just made a GIF. And the one thing I'll tell everyone when you get this is I spent a little bit, I almost took it off of our spotlight because it was giving me this error message because it doesn't default set up where your save preferences are going to be. So it kept giving like this directory that you're trying to save to doesn't exist. I'm like, well, what are you trying to save to? What are you trying to do? But if you go into the preferences first, as soon as you install it and select where you want the file to be saved, the converted file, you're good to go from there, and everything worked beautiful after that. So just a little tip, when you first install it, make sure you go to the preferences and select the save directory. And then I was able to easily take, MP4s and things and turn them into GIFs and, have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Wow. Like the being able to do that really nicely, going from videos to images into the GIF style is a really cool approach, especially with like a GUI style of doing it. And just a quick note for those people who are, maybe the developers will check this out, because the reason you have that is because you're not doing a default. Your default should just be like your home folder. So just do like a home variable, and it'd be a lot easier that way. So just you do try it out, be sure to make sure you go and change that directory so it works. I like the approach that they're doing it, because FFmpeg is awesome, and it's also a terrible experience to try to figure out how to run it. And now you don't have to figure it out. And that, my friends, is the proper way of using the word easy.
There you go.
It's actually even easier than Handbrake, which I use all the time, or VLC, or some of the other tools out there.
I love Handbrake. Oh, it's such a good tool.
I love FFmpeg. I actually create virtual cams with it. It's one of my favorite utilities to use, and it is, the back end of most of our multimedia apps under Linux.
Yeah, it basically powers everything. But
exactly.
But that's also great because we have that one thing that powers all this great stuff. And Ciano or Keanu or
Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Keanu Reeves is that's one of the things that it powers.
By the way, if you want to show some love to FFmpeg, they have a donation page out there. PayPal,
Yes.
credit card, money order, bank transfer. You could do it all there. So check out ffmpeg.org because they deserve it, don't they? I think they do.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
FFmpeg
definitely.
is very important.
I contribute to them yearly. Yes.
Absolutely. So a big thank you to each and every one of you by supporting us, watching or listening to Destination Linux, however you do it. We thank you so much. And if you want more DL, become a patron like all these beautiful faces here that got to experience all of the in-between segment commentary with Jill. Every time we have Jill on, we get this amazing outpouring of feedback. Everybody loves Jill, and as they should, because she's amazing. And so thank you so much for showing all that love and support there as well. But if you want to get all that inside conversations and extra information going on, you should become a patron because that gives you perks like unedited versions of the show. So even if you couldn't be here with us today, you could still go back and see all of the fun that we had and all of the trolling of Michael that happens live. I tell you.
It does happen
Be a part of
live.
that.
That is true. And often.
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly Ted's fault, but I mean, whatever. So if you can check out the Destination Linux Network store, DLN Store, and you can have swag related to t-shirts. Yes, exactly. And awesome shirts. We all represent in the DLN swag, and you can check out the t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and so much more. And we actually also have stickers now for people who didn't believe me that was going to happen this week. It happened this week. Yes, it was definitely Ryan.
That didn't believe you.
So it has happened. You can go to DLN Store and check out the stickers for all the great shows and stuff like that on Destination Linux Network.
And make sure also to join the DLN community. We have our DLN discourse forum, which I'm on every week, and to discuss a variety of open source and Linux topics. And for interactive chat, check out our Telegram group where over 1,000 members go to hang out. If you want to game with the community, we have a Discord server as well. So we'll be making good use of that on August 30th.
And for those who have been
Nice.
following the show, I make Noah say ridiculous things.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was about to say, I'm so
I'm
nice.
messing with Jill, I'm not messing with Jill. She'd hack my computer in a second. I'm not messing with her. So she got a nice, easygoing one there. Speaking of which, Jill, where can people find you? You are on a lot of other platforms we want to give a shout out to here so that people can listen to you each and every week.
Okay, I'm over at LinuxGameCast.com, and I do the Linux news show on Wednesday called Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday. And we do that every week. And I'm also on game streams, and I'm the community manager or the morale czar for Linux Gamecast.
And I'm personally a patron, love everything that you do over there. So everyone needs to definitely go check that out.
And if you want some more content, we also have a lot more that is definitely too legit to quit. I'm going to bring back some ridiculousness.
Wow, look at you.
There you go.
Yep.
Go to the DLN website at DestinationLinux.Network, where you'll find all sorts of open source goodness from podcasts to YouTube channels and so much more. So everybody have a great week, and remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Thanks, everyone.
Love you.
Yeah, I like it. It's the Vulcan one. I like it. It's awesome.
There's our screenshot. You're so awesome, Jill. Thank you for joining us. Patrons, you can turn on your mics, your cameras, ask Jill questions. Come hang out with us. Solo wants to ask Jill, what's the oldest computer you own?
Oh, boy. That would be my PDP-11 terminal.
Why does anyone have a PDP-11?
Because it's Jill and she's amazing.
Yeah. I know, but a PDP-11 is an awful computer.
Yeah.
It's an actually legitimately terrible computer.
It's huge. It won't even fit in this room.
Yeah,